Lynn Faulds and John Stapleton's names are linked, not just by marriage, but because of the distinguished position they each commanded over the years as pioneering journalists. They recorded separate Pearls of Wisdom interviews with me just before Lynn's sudden and tragic death in April of this year, and John has kindly given his blessing for them both to be shown now back to back. As you'll see, Lynn is witty and self-deprecating, strong and inspiring, and both she and John gave entertaining and invaluable pearls of wisdom. I am so grateful to them both, and I hope you enjoy them. Hello, Lynn.
Hello, Julie.
Lovely to see you. Now, Lynn Faulds, journalist, campaigner, award-winning TV presenter of Watchdog, World in Action, and a host of pivotal programs. You are the consumer champion. How are you finding life in lockdown?
How am I finding life in lockdown? If it wasn't for being able to talk to lovely people like you, Julie, on here, it would be very difficult, but you can still do your job sitting in your own house talking away on one of these laptops.
Yes, and I know you walk a lot, Lynn. Are you managing to get out for your daily constitutional?
Yeah, I run. I've gone back to running. Good goodness me. The only trouble with talking to people on your laptop is you keep seeing yourself and thinking, gosh, do I really look like that? Anyway, I go running and I go walking, and I try and get John to go, my husband, to go walking as much as possible, given that we're only allowed out once a day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my husband Patrick and I have been going on bike rides as well as walks. We alternate. And if you go very, very early, like really early, like 7 o'clock, you don't meet many people, which is, what we're meant to be doing. Or not.
I'm not sure I can face 7 o'clock, because unlike you, I wear makeup all the time. It would be a horrible shock if I didn't put it on.
Oh dear. Now, Lynn, this feature I'm doing is called Pearls of Wisdom, because I'm fascinated by the best piece of advice, really, that you've ever been given and how you've applied it to your life. If you'd like to share that with me, with all of us.
I'd love to. I mean, the best piece of advice, I think, well, you might have noticed I'm a bit Scottish. So the best piece of advice appeals to me partly because I'm Scottish, because we like value for money, but also when I was on Watchdog, and you'd have to have a very long memory to know that over 30 years ago, I started on Watchdog, or John and I started on Watchdog when breakfast television started. So we were on every day of the week for 20 minutes until 20 to 9 till 9 o'clock in the morning. So we did a lot of stories. And at that time, there was various, excuse me, I'll just have a little sip of water.
Allowed.
And what when anti-aging creams came out, so of course I wanted to try them. I'm just keep looking at myself again, sorry. It's very distracting. I don't know how the Korean television. Anyway, so one of the stories was anti-aging creams. And when we looked into them, we found that if anti-aging creams work, they're damaging the underdermis of your skin, so you're more likely to get wrinkles in the future. And if they don't work, then why are you spending lots of money on them?
Yeah.
And it involved me going to America to meet then the world's leading dermatologist, Professor Albert Klingsman. I think he was in Philadelphia, if I remember rightly. And Albert Klingsman said to me, this is what, don't forget all that expensive stuff. This is what you should use on your face. And here's a prop coming up. That's what he told me to use, Vaseline.
I'm trying to do it without I thought it was Vaseline.
Yeah.
No.
I have been using it ever since. A pot of that from my local chemist costs about £2, and they come in all sorts of sizes. So when you go, if we ever get in a plane again, you're able to take it in your carry-on. And I've been using that ever since. And it's
fantastic. I'm definitely going to be. You look amazing. You always have done.
I'm 103.
I know you're not. I know. I've looked up your Wikipedia, but I do know that you look truly wonderful, and you've always got a bloom. Vaseline. So
makeup. Vaseline and makeup. No, they think John Collins tried that as well, so he must have told her too. And what you do is just when you wash your face in the morning, because I do all the usual stuff at night, toner and cleanser and so on. In the morning, I like to use a little bit of soap and water, dry your face, and when your face is still slightly damp, stick on a tiny little blob of Vaseline and smooth it around. You don't make yourself look like a greasy chip.
Yes, I was going to say, does it sink in?
Yeah, but you only use a tiny little bit. Start small and work up and work out what works for you. But truly, honestly, that will last me, I'm Scottish, about a year and a half probably.
And just for the sake, just in case we're breaking any rules, I know we probably aren't, but other emollients are available, such as Nivea or Oil of Olay, or you have to do the rule of 3, don't you? So,
well, you try them. I've tried them. This is the one that works for me. So other creams are available, and people may not like Vaseline, but I tell you, I have been wearing it for over 30 years, and I'm eternally grateful to Albert Klinsmann. Because it must have saved me an absolute fortune.
Thank you. Do you know, that is the most illuminating pearl of wisdom, and I'm going to try it. I think there's somebody else as well. I think it might be Joanna Lumley, although she might use Nivea. But you know, we don't have to use these incredibly expensive 100-quid creams. You've got a 2-quid pot of Vaseline that does the trick and makes you glow.
Mm. Well, I don't know if it makes you glow or not, but I like it.
I like it too. Thank you so much, Lynn, for talking to me and sharing that brilliant pearl of wisdom. Thank you
for having me.
Hello, John.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Happy to see you.
And you, likewise.
Great. Okay, so John Stapleton, journalist, broadcaster, TV presenter, and winner of the Royal Television Society's News Presenting Award. You are a TV institution.
Oh, I don't think so.
And I gather that you're also, in your own words, a Manchester City fanatic. So
Obsessive.
Sorry?
Obsessive.
Obsessive. Well, you must be really missing the matches.
Oh, terribly, terribly. It's like I'm a right arm off. I mean, you know, what do we do on a Saturday afternoon now? Not to mention a Wednesday evening, etc., etc. And heaven knows when we're going to be allowed back. I mean, can you imagine them allowing 55,000 people to sit next to each other in this sort of climate? Not happening.
No. I've been wondering how it's going to happen with restaurants with people sitting next to each other, but at least there can be some distancing. But at a footy match, how can you?
Well, we all cheer and hug each other when we score, as we do very often, as you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're going to have to sadly find a way around that, but there will be one, I'm sure. Yeah. But I don't know what it is. But what I do know, what I want to do is to ask you for your best guidance in life, as it were. This is Pearls of Wisdom, and I'd like you to share with me the best piece of advice that you feel you've been given and how you've applied it to your life.
Sure. Well, I think it was my dad who said it first of all. Lynn says it too, but it's a little phrase I've always got in the back of my head, which is to fail to prepare is to prepare to fail. Now, in my professional life, this means that I prep to a ludicrous extent. If I'm going out on a story or if I'm doing an interview with someone, I want to read everything there is to be read about that particular person or that particular event or issue. I then sit down with a piece of paper and say, you know, I'm interviewing the Prime Minister, as I have done. I'll write the Prime Minister's name down at the top of the piece of paper. Not that I'll forget the Prime Minister's name, but it's a sort of comfort blanket.
Absolutely.
Then I'll write down every single question I want to ask, and I'll write down far too many. And I'll go through it thinking, well, if I ask that, they're likely to say this, therefore I should ask that. And so it goes on and on and on. I do far, far too many questions. But one of the reasons for doing that is that just in case things change. I mean, sometimes you might be down to a 2-minute interview and suddenly the producer asks you to make it much longer. Do you remember the famous Jeremy Paxman one, when Jeremy Paxman was interviewing Michael Howard, and he asked Michael Howard, then Home Secretary, the same question 17 times. Now we now know, because Jeremy admits this, the reason he asked him the same question 17 times is not just because Michael Howard wasn't answering the question, but because the producer was saying in his ear, the next item's fallen down, for God's sake, keep this going for as long as you can. So you need to have that ability. And there's a similar one for me in my professional life. I remember years and years ago interviewing Marianne Faithfull I was supposed to do about 3 or 4 minutes with her. Producer came in my ear and said, "This is fascinating, keep this going." Now, I had no problem in keeping going an interview with Marianne Faith, because like every red-blooded male in the country, I fancied her rotten. I could have talked to her for hours. But, you know, there again, you needed that backup of the question. You needed to know that you could keep it going. So that's what I do in my professional life.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And you mentioned Lynn. This is, of course, Lynn Faulds, your wife, and you presented Watchdog together. Does Lynn follow your sort of example and do the same? No.
Completely the opposite. Lynn likes to prep everything at the very last minute. In my personal life, and I've found this becomes increasingly the case, I have to say, the older I get. In my personal life, you know, I for example, want to make sure I've covered everything. If I'm going somewhere, if I'm going on holiday, I've got to make sure I've got the taxi booked in plenty of time, just in case there's a crash on the M25.
Yeah.
I will arrive at the airport far too early, but I feel so much more comfortable doing that. The best one was, you said I'm a Man City fan, you just reminded me, me and a mate of mine called Simon went to Glasgow to watch City play Glasgow Celtic, and I got Simon to the ground so early that even the gatekeepers hadn't arrived. The place was locked up. It was more than 2 hours before kickoff. We were eventually let in. We sat there in this completely empty stadium in pouring rain, waiting for the match to start, and he's never let me live that down. But it's just how I am. And I have to say, I don't know whether many of your viewers or listeners think the same way, but I think it's become an increasing sort of issue with me the older I get. It's a sort of fear.
I could not absolutely, John. I could not agree with you more. It's a wonderful pearl of wisdom. But absolutely, I used to be really laissez-faire about travel and arrive at the airport with only just enough time and things. I'm totally different now. It's not that I'm nervous about missing things, but I must be a little, because I now allow masses of time. Patrick, my hubby, always has, but I now do it too. And I think it's much easier, and you just feel so much better in case anything goes wrong. Yeah,
absolutely. My son is not the same. Lynn, our Nick is not the same. Lynn is absolutely the opposite, as I say. And she'll say, "What are you panicking about? What are you panicking about?" And, you know, just now and again, I am proved right.
Oh, John, listen, thank you. I really like that. That's a great, as I say, pearl or nugget of wisdom. Thank you for sharing it with me today. And I'm really lovely to see you as well.
And you, let's hope we see you for real, in real life very soon. Thank you very much.
Very much, you bet. Take care. Thank you.
Sorry.